Inside the Huddle with Coach Tigh, Compton, Gary Justice, the host of the show. And, Coach, appreciate your willingness to go inside the huddle with us.
No, absolutely. I appreciate your willingness to put on this show and have it on the Justice Broadcasting Network, and we're very thankful for any interest in U Pike basketball that we can get.
So, Coach, this is your sixth season as the head coach, and is a year 15, 16 a part of the program?
Yeah, 16. I think this is 16.
You're 16, and you've seen a lot of the highs as well. Been a part of all those, and this has been your sixth season. And Coach, been very impressed as we recap the 24-25 season with you being named Coach of the Year inside the Appalachian Athletic Conference, 25-7 last year. But Coach, first 5 years, let's look back on that one. You've increased the win total each and every year. You made 3 trips to the NAIA National Tournament, advancing the second round twice. Talk about the first 5 years and also last year, Coach.
Yeah, we took over right when COVID was blossoming, so we were really unsure about what that was going to look like, and we struggled through the first couple of years. We kept it together the best that we could, but it was just a challenge, and everyone in the country had a challenge at that point in time in collegiate athletics or athletics in general, and we felt like after the second year, we've not had any other kind of disturbance. We had 2 full years of disturbances with COVID, and we've kind of figured it out a little bit. We've had 20 wins each of those last 3 years, and 3 straight national tournament appearances. And we given an opportunity to do it the way that we think we can be successful, and that we thought we could be successful from the jump. It's translated into winning seasons and postseason opportunities. So we're very thankful, very happy for the path that we've had up to this point.
So recapping last year, Coach, 25 wins, 7 losses, the regular season Appalachian Athletic Conference champions. But Coach, you had a talented roster. A lot of guys received a lot of postseason honors. You have Jalen Rigdon on the all-freshman team. You have L.A. Walker, Keelan Warwick's on the second team. Bradley Bunchman named Player of the Year, and also second team All-American. Talk about that roster and those returners as well, Coach.
Yeah, last year's group was really, really special. 25 wins don't come easy, especially, since I took over as head coach, the total game total changed from 30 to 28. The divisions combined, RPI metrics, a lot of things have changed over the 5 years. And, what used to be 25 wins is kind of 20 wins now. When teams get to 20 wins, that's a huge accomplishment. And, years and, a decade ago, there were a lot of teams hitting that 25 win mark. So to get to 25 last year was phenomenal. Very proud of our guys. It was a really special group, unbelievable camaraderie and chemistry. And we did enough. I thought our consistency was what got us to a regular season championship. Some nights we weren't the tallest or most athletic or maybe, passed test every single night, but those guys showed up, played extremely hard every single night, and just worked their way to the season that we had. And their preparation was top notch. Their willingness to be coached was top notched, and we felt really good about it, and couldn't happen to a better group.
So, Coach, in this year, now with collegiate sports, seem like you hear the term transfer portal, a lot of guys leaving programs and kind of jumping schools. You returned 7 guys off last year's roster. Coach, talk about that culture. You graduate 3 guys from last year, 7 guys come back. Talk about how do you build that culture where guys want to come back?
Yeah, it's something we're really proud of, and we talk about culture not really being the buzzword or the acronym or what's on the walls, but just being what we put out every day, and just kind of the relationships that we've been able to build with our guys. And it's a big selling point for us. We talk about it every recruiting visit, every recruiting call, and we have great relationships with the guys, and they play hard for us. And I just think we're personable. They're able to talk to us not just as coaches or authority figures, but as their confidant, as their friend, as their mentor. And we let them have a lot of ownership of what we do here. We certainly have structure and certainly have an idea of what direction we want the ship to sail, but we want those guys to be comfortable. We want it to match the personalities and abilities of the guys that we've got. So they know that they have a lot of ownership of our program, and if it's something that they're uncomfortable with, or something that they just don't necessarily see working or don't feel right doing, we have an open line of communication, and we're not afraid to back up and punt and kind of change to make sure that our guys are comfortable and confident in what it is that we're doing. So, those the returners have built a ton of trust in us with their sweat equity and just Keenan Cutler, Bradley Bunch, Kean Warwick's all being in their fourth year of the program. I feel like I can just give those guys the keys a little bit some and let them just run with it. They know exactly what's expected. They know exactly how to execute the things that we need to get executed. And their leadership shows with the new guys. They're kind of the chief energy officers of what we need them to be in practice and leading in a certain way and making sure that we're not getting off the rails in the wrong direction. And luckily, their leadership allows us to coach more versus having to kind of nitpick at some of the smaller details because they get those things cleaned up amongst themselves.
So, Coach, we talked about the postseason accolades from 24-25 on for Bradley and also Kean and also Cutlip had a good year. His development too. But Coach, those three guys wasn't really highly recruited guys out of high school. They've developed during their time at the University of Pikeville. That's a credit to you and your staff. Talk a little about player development and what of the University of Pikeville basketball program.
Yeah, all three were great players. Kean obviously kind of came on a little bit late and had an unbelievable last season there at Pikeville High School and wowed a lot of folks in the state tournament and caught some attention and some eyes there. But Bradley Bunch won a state championship in Virginia AA and as a junior and was a state player of the year as a junior. And Keenan I think finished sixth or seventh all time on the leading scorers list at Science Hill High School in Tennessee, which is a very, very storied high school program. So all three of those guys had unbelievable high school careers, but for whatever reason, were a little under the radar and had some interest and maybe a couple of other offers, but weren't as highly recruited as maybe their collegiate careers would lead you to believe. So again, we kind of have an idea of what we want and what works here and what we coach best and the kind of guys that can thrive here and the guys that can find value outside of just basketball here and find value in our community and in our university. And, we just trust our eyes. We trust our eyes and believe that we're a program of work and development. And if guys are willing to ride that ride with us, we have a pretty good eye for what those guys look like before they get here. And if they'll work with us, we're in good shape.
So, Coach, having those guys come back, the returners, you did have some spots you had to fill in due to graduation. Talk about your recruiting class for this 25-26 season, Coach.
Yeah, along with those three guys, L.A. Walker, Jalen Rigdon, both, L.A. was second team all conference. Rigdon was all freshman team. Both of those guys played huge roles for us last year and will be just as big, if not bigger, for us this year. And, complimenting those guys with the newcomers, we felt like this was a year all in a little bit, right? So we brought in predominantly transfer heavy class, but we feel like the guys that we brought in, regardless of where they come from, they fit what we do and they fit who we are. And again, they value the opportunity to be in a top program at this level of the country, but they also value the academic piece that we have to offer, and they value and enjoy the social situation that we have here in Pikeville and love the mountains and just they fit in outside of just basketball. And that's really, really important for the chemistry piece, for the camaraderie piece, and just for their personal happiness. And, everybody has rough days. Everybody has rough patches. And when the basketball piece may not be going just right, we want to make sure that guys have something that they can lean back on and they're still enjoying their time here. And we think all the new guys represent that as well.
So, Coach, as far as like when you're constructing your roster with your returners and you got your recruiting class coming in, how does playing in the Appalachian Athletic Conference, how does the conference dictate what your roster looks like?
Yeah, I think we always want to make sure that we identify who we feel like the best programs in the league are, and make sure that along the way we feel like the progress that we're making in recruiting allows us to compete with those programs and possibly beat those programs. And I think in doing so, if you can compete, our league got 3 teams in the national tournament last year and won some big games along the way. I think our league showed last year that if you can compete at the top of our league and win our league, then you can compete at a national level as well. And our goal is to compete nationally. That's no secret. That's something that we've done very consistently over the last decade and a half, 2 decades. And, that expectation does exist here, and we welcome that. And, we feel like that if we can compete at the top of our league, that we can be where we need to nationally. And and try to kind of carry that flag for the AAC a little bit and continue to build the reputation and the brand of AAC basketball, which had its best conference last year that they've ever had.
And you mentioned those 3 teams getting in the league. That's the first time, right? The
First
league,
time the league had ever gotten an at-large bid into the national tournament was last year. So
which huge.
huge,
Yeah.
big accomplishment, and just speaks to the volume of the reputation now and how that's changing. And hopefully this year we can piggyback off that success and get 3 or 4 in this year.
I want to say there's guys who are finished 4th and 5th in the league. I mean, they played well enough to get into the national tournament.
Yeah, last year specifically, Columbia International was right on the bubble. Bryan had a really, really tough injury down the stretch, but they were playing at an elite level, a national tournament for a really long time. So we're just a couple breaks here or there, I think, from being able to get a 4th team in solidly. And, hopefully that's our goal. I think that's the goal of the rest of the league. I think everyone's recruited, and the league looks to be very competitive again. So hopefully we're in a similar situation in the spring where we're able to get multiple teams in and get another at-large bid.
One last thing on as far as the league and how strong it was. You talk about Columbia International. When they didn't qualify for the NAIA national tournament, they played in the National Christian College Athletic Association and made it all the way to the finals.
Yep.
I mean, they're ball club, so this league is stacked. And again, going back to your 25-7 season last year, it's 16 wins, a school record as far as number of league wins as well. And so, Coach, you've recapped the season from 24-25, and we've got a solid recruiting base back. I mean, returners back, and I think you was telling me you had 5 of the top 6 players from last year coming back, and then you also have I was able to watch practice today, and definitely a very talented group that you brought in. But Coach, so what does preseason practice look like? I mean, you hear the term a lot, preseason practice, prepare for the upcoming season. For Coach Tigh Compton, what does that look like? And he kind of goes inside the huddle with us.
Yeah, for sure. And with our newcomers, a lot of those guys are going to play key roles. Riley Salmons coming from Tennessee Tech, Robbie Todd coming from Eastern Kentucky University, Peyton Bird coming from Indiana Wesleyan University, a top NAIA program in the country, Justin Sepoy from a junior college, Braden Nelson from UT Southern. We feel really confident in those guys as transfers that have played at a high level of college basketball already to come in and compete with the guys that we've got back. And part of our preseason, most of our preseason has been built around just meshing those new guys with the newcomers, or with the older guys with the newcomers, and just trying to build the chemistry that we need to move forward. No one's going to have everything in at the beginning of the season. No one's going to be hopefully playing their best basketball at the beginning of the season. It's been more about just, here are the guardrails of our program. Here are the expectations of our program. This is what we want it to look like. We walk through it. We drill it. We show them film of what it needs to look like. And it's just a repetitive process of showing it over and over and over and going out over and over and over again and trying to reach the level of execution that we hope to get in some of those details. But getting guys to understand the standard of hard work and understand the standard of resiliency and just a blue collar type approach. We feel like our team really represents a lot of the community's what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of the community's just
the work ethic,
yeah. and just
value
approach and values. We feel like that the way our guys play and have shown the ability to play in the past, and just the way they approach everything they do every day, represents a lot of that. And we want them to know that. We want them to understand why people get excited to come out and watch them play. We want people to understand, our guys to understand why people are excited to see kids from Appalachia, several kids from Central Appalachia come and be successful at the local university and find success basketball-wise here, because basketball matters, and we wouldn't have it any other way. And a lot of that is just getting them to understand the magnitude of how important that is here, and what is required of them, getting them to understand expectation and understand responsibility, and just understand that everything they do here is going to matter from a basketball perspective, that we want to be successful, we want to win games, and we want to compete at the highest levels. And in order to do that, we've got to be very process driven and process focused, and that's what we do every single day in practice. So just getting them to understand the importance of every single day versus looking ahead to game opportunity and those kinds of things. That's kind of where we've been at in the preseason up to this point.
So there's one more thing on the preseason practice I want to ask you. Then we can jump over to the academic side because I know that's something that's a piece that you value very highly. I want to touch on that. But going back to the preseason practice, you were telling me, and as I went to watch practice, and you was talking to me after practice, you have your practices numbered. Everything is down to the second and to the minute what those guys are doing. I mean, as far as being that type of just having things scheduled to the second, what does that do for your ball club, coach?
Yeah, it's I think it represents a lot of the way that I started coaching. Just trying to have control over everything, trying to manipulate all the different situations, and kind of pull the string, so to speak. But as I've gotten more experience as a head coach, that's changed a little bit. I do like to have our program organized. I do like to have our time allotted in an appropriate manner to make sure we're doing the things that we need to do in a competitive way. But at the same time, I think I've grown as a coach to allow those guys to have a ton of freedom when they're playing. And again, we talk about guardrails in our program a lot, and just how we even how we get to the gym and how we expect you guys to be or expect our guys to be on the floor in a certain way at a certain time and using their pre-practice time in a certain manner and just trying to be present in the moment and let go of everything that's outside and just we call it a championship approach. And we try to be as detailed as possible with all the different areas and all the different things. And I think early on with a new group, especially of those 5 transfers that are all trying to intermingle and mesh with the returners, I think that structure is really important for those guys. I think it gives them a little bit of confidence because they know exactly what's expected. They know exactly what it's going to look like and when it's going to be done. And as they get more comfortable with that in the process and the procedure, we're able to widen those guardrails out a little bit and have a little more flexibility in how we do it and what we do. So, I do think it is a benefit for the new guys early on, and the returners. They know that they just got to ride it out for a few weeks, and we'll loosen things up a little bit on them.
I'll being an organized person, I love the approach when you're able to tell me, hey, this is practice number 21. We're covering this. But just watching practice, there are no wasted movements as well. I mean, you're working on defense, offense, individual drills, went into the team aspect of things, and I mean, the people were clicking too. So it's like, you want to value everybody's time. I mean, your time is valuable. The team's, I mean, you only have so much practice time per day. But I was very impressed with how you got practice.
Well, I appreciate that. We want it to be up tempo. We want it to move, and conditioning is such a big deal that you just don't have a lot of time at this point of the year to just line them up and run, right? And a lot of teams do that in the preseason as much as you can. But now that you're in the season and you're focusing more on team concepts and growth of your entire group, it's hard to just line up and run. So you try to get that through competition. You try to get that through speed and just purpose in a lot of the drills that we do. So a lot of the pace that we run with and our practices are very up tempo is to try to build that cardio piece into what we do every single day and get them thinking about what they're supposed to do and when they're supposed to do it while they're fatigued. It's easy to do what you're supposed to do when you're fresh and there's no chaos. We want to create a little bit of chaos and wear them down a little bit and make them think about it then.
Because this is the last thing on your practice. I want to jump to academics and then staff after this. So on what I noticed during practice too, you talk about getting guys fatigued because you're playing in a ball game, right? That's when you need to be shooting free throws is when you're fatigued. It's maybe a little bit easier to make that free throw if you get fouled in the first minute of the ball game. But
Sure.
if you're in minute 40 of the ball game or minute 39, it's a little bit harder. So I noticed there's a lot of drills set up there where those guys are they play up and down a little bit. I think it was 2 10-minute sessions, and they was going pretty hard. And then it was free throws after that, situations where they had to react as well. So definitely impressed there. But Coach, jumping to the academic side, and I haven't mentioned that we've talked a lot about the accolades as far as on the court. But you had several guys honored last year as academic all-conference as well. Can you touch on that, Coach?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact number, and we had a lot of NABC scholar athletes and A scholar athletes.
Double digits.
Yeah, and that's been an important piece of what we do. Every player that has finished their eligibility here with me in the 5 years that we've completed has graduated, with multiple degrees, and that's something we're very proud of as an alum of the university. Creating alumni and creating a meaningful academic experience is really important. And I would like to take a lot of credit for that. But honestly, it was coming after that second COVID year. We had a large recruiting class coming in, and at the time, Coach Sidney Christ and Evan Faulkner and I had been together for a really long time, and we just kind of came together and just decided, like, what do we want our program to be about? We've got a lot that we've learned in the last 2 years. We can shift gears here a little bit if we need to, and um, getting guys that were really committed to academics was a very important thing. So we went out and we tried to find guys that made better grades. And I know that's not rocket science, but if you want your team to make more shots, you should find guys that can shoot. If you want guys to make better grades, a big portion of that is going out and finding guys that value education and make better grades. And a big part of that's also been Miss Lori Hypes and the CAE on campus, the Center for
Amazing.
Academic Excellence. She's been phenomenal. Her and Nero Hawks that also helps her. They've been phenomenal to us. We've been able to turn a lot of that study hall stuff over to them, and they've really raised the performance of our student athletes as a whole in our entire department. So again, they've got much more to do with that than I do. Our kids being more bought into academics and valuing that education piece has much more to do with it than any magic wand that I've waved. But we're here to support them in any way that we possibly can, and we've had a good run. We had over a 3.4, well over a 3.4 GPA last year, and again, we're producing graduates, and we're very proud of that.
You talk about the 3.4 GPA, coach. There's a lot of times, especially with the travel schedule within the AAC. Sometimes you'll play 2 games for a week. Sometimes you'll play three. Sometimes those 3 games are all on the road, where you spend them multiple nights away, and we're not able to attend class in person. You talked about Lori and her staff and what they're doing up in academic success. Is amazing stuff, right? But it's also, I think, you've talked about recruiting the right players, right, who are willing to put that time in on the road. But also, I know you're a humble guy, but you definitely got to take some credit. Like you're holding these guys accountable on the road to make sure they get their studies in.
Yeah, they again, it's just about what they value, and we found over the time that we have very little ability, certainly less ability than we would like to believe in changing people. And maybe we can create some positive habits, and maybe we can work on time management and do some different things, and improve certain areas and certain skills. But um, you know, a tiger doesn't change its stripes, and that's been my experience in a lot of different areas of this coaching business. And again, I think it's just really important to make sure that our GPAs and our graduates and our academic accolades, those things are won in the recruiting battle. Those things are things that have to be talked about, the things that we have to show that we value. And the guys have to know what's important to you. Like they're gonna, if the guys know what's important to you, the guys know that it's part of the gig here. Then it's going to be really easy to identify the ones that also value it at the same level that we do and are committed to that. And we've been lucky to do that over the last little bit, and this group is really showing no different. I think this group will be just as strong academically as the groups that we've had in the past.
So, last thing on academics, I want to get you to touch on your staff, and then also after that, after we talk about alumni as well. So, last thing, as far as you talked about what's important to you, it's more than words. You and your staff display that. You show that, hey, this is important. This is the reason why. This is not words. Hey, get your studies done, get your grades up. You're displaying as well, showing them the importance of it, whether it be preparing for a job interview or once basketball's over. This 4 years is important. Playing basketball, yeah, heck yeah, let's play. But it's really, let's prepare you for the next 40 years of your work career.
Yeah, and working with the folks in the CAE, it's really easy to take a common sense approach and a real life approach. We don't, we're not over looking over our guys' shoulders all the time. We're not, we don't have our thumb just pressing down on them 24/7. There's some growing up that guys have to do in college. That's what college is about, is growing and kind of finding yourself and finding your path. And again, I think you just have to help your guys see what is important to them, help them come up with their own goals and their own values, and then talk about a plan of, well, hey, if these are the things that you want to get accomplished while you're here, and these are the things that you say are the most important to you, then let's talk about how we're going to get there, and let's talk about some of the habits and some of the results that we've got to get from the work that you inevitably are going to have to put in. And things just don't happen. You've got to go make it happen. And I think that we've had a good stretch, and hopefully we'll continue to have a good stretch at being able to identify those guys that are very goal driven and willing to put in the work that's required for them to be able to ultimately reach whatever their end goal may be.
You talk about it just doesn't happen. You got to build that foundation. Kind of going back how we started the broadcast of like, hey, we're going through practice. We're trying to create a little bit of chaos. We're laying that foundation so you can be successful during the ball game. Right now, this is on the academic piece. Let's lay a solid foundation so when life gets chaotic, that's one thing you don't have to worry about. You're able to get into that career.
Yeah, priorities are important. Everybody's got things. Life happens for everybody, right? And
Good
it's
point.
not always easy. And there's so easy to forget about. Even when you watch collegiate sports on TV or professional sports on TV, it's so easy to forget about those people being people,
Yes.
and having the same life things that happen to each of us every single day. And they've got the same tough phone calls sometimes that come in that dictate maybe a bad week or so of practice or just a lack of focus, or they've got the same feelings and anxieties that come with maybe doing poorly on a test in a class, and kind of thinking about the outcome, and letting that negative kind of stay with them a little bit too long. And something we really focus on with our guys a ton is talking about getting out of the negative. And it was a story that Coach Christ, who used to be with us as an assistant, lived with Joe Mazzulla in college, that is the Boston Celtics head coach. And we had Joe talk with our guys one year. And one of the questions that came up was about Jason Tatum. At the time, he was mid ascent to being one of the top, 5, 6, 7 players in the NBA, whatever you feel. And the question was, what makes him different, or what makes him different from the other 5 or 6 top NBA players in the world? And he never hesitated. He immediately said just his ability to get out of the negative. And he just talked about his ability to whatever it was, whether it was off the floor, whether it was an injury, whether it was a bad pass, whether it was a missed shot, a missed assignment somehow, whatever it looked like. He just talked about that Jason Tatum was the most elite person he'd ever been around at being able to put that situation behind him and get right to the next and get back above the line and get back into the positive. And, I think it shows when you think about that with people that are the most successful in all different walks of life. Very few of those people are people that sulk or have self pity or find themselves in kind of that woe is me kind of attitude. They're on to the next thing, and they're finding solutions, or they're figuring out how to make it better versus just kind of sitting and hoping and waiting for somebody else to do that. And we talk a lot with our guys that like academics aren't going to be that. You're going to have to go earn it, and you're going to have to fight through some tough times, and you're going to have to get back and move on to the next thing if you have a setback. And I think it goes on the court as well. Like next play mentality kind of runs into that too. But just talking about, hey, you had a bad moment, you had a bad situation, you had a bad night. We're going to go to sleep. We're going to wake up the next day, and we're going to get back into the good and get out of that negative.
It's not going to define you, right?
For sure.
It's one of those things of like, hey, learn from it, and then
Sure.
let's move on forward. It's much easier said than
Sure.
done. And you talk about Jason Tatum, and definitely such have the ability to have the head coach of probably one of the, if he's not the top MPA head coach in Joe Mazzulla,
sure,
he's in the top 3.
Sure. No, that was a great
Yeah.
connection from Coach Christ. And at the time we actually had 2 guys in the locker room that had played or been recruited by Joe to Fairmont State when he was there. So we had a little bit of a connection there at that point in time, and very thankful for his time, and very thankful for Coach Christ making that connection.
So, Coach, so let's jump into staff and then alumni. So, talk about your staff. I saw them at practice, Coach. I mean, definitely those guys. Um, ever since I've been around you, your staff has always worked extremely hard, and they know the role. And you're talking to your staff as we was leaving to come over to sit up for the broadcast and talking about cutting up tape and getting everything ready. Talk about your staff, Coach.
Yeah, we've lost 2 straight associate head coaches to Division I jobs, and that's a good thing. Coach Evan Faulkner, is at Youngstown State starting his 2nd year, and Coach Sid Chris just took a job as an assistant coach at Winthrop University in North Carolina or South Carolina, Rock Hill. And as much as we hate to see those guys go, that's part of the business, and you're happy for those guys to be able to move forward and advance their careers and compete at a level that they've always dreamed of being able to do so. But it does set us back in a certain area of what's next for us. And Preston Boswell was here with us last year as a full time assistant, and he has picked up so much slack over the last few months. Since we learned about Coach Chris, late summer departure, he's been phenomenal. Our guys love Coach Boswell. He works unbelievably hard. He is here daylight to dark. There is nothing that is above him, nothing that is below him. He is involved in everything from A to Z, and has been absolutely as good as I could ever have asked for an assistant coach to be so far this year. And then we have Charlie Cox, who served as a GA for us the last 2 years, is back as an assistant coach this year with us, and has done a great job too. He really learned over the first 2 years. It was his first couple of years around college basketball from a staff perspective, and he was a sponge the entire time. And part of there's the negative of that is that hey, he doesn't have much experience coming into U Pike, but the good part of that is all of his experience has been in our program, and he really knows how we operate and how things are expected to be done here or need to be done here. So we're not breaking bad habits from a staff perspective. These guys know exactly what we need from them in these moments, and what our guys need from them more than anything. And couldn't ask for a better group. We also have a student assistant, Trent Adkins, who was just named the homecoming king Saturday, actually. That has his hand in everything. He's another guy that just goes above and beyond. He is a go-getter. He's involved in every club, anything that you can think of going on campus. Trenton is involved in it, and he stepped up this year so far and been a huge help for us. So I couldn't ask for to be surrounded by a better group of coaches.
And you talk about the student assistant. That's such an important role. Zay Salyer, who he's just graduated, and he served in that role for 4 years, I guess, right?
Yeah, Zay had an unbelievably important role with us. Served as our junior varsity head coach while he was an undergraduate student, and was integral in scouting reports and travel, and just being essentially a full time assistant coach with us while he was here in school, and has moved on and is coaching high school basketball in McGoffin County now, and is a school teacher. And but his impact and loss of him was just as impactful as some of the others, and certainly in certain ways. And we thankfully for Trenton, he's kind of was with Zay and was kind of an understudy of Zay last year a little bit, and has been able to blossom into that role and take over a lot of the responsibilities that were left behind by Zay.
You talk about just players, whether it be on the court playing or even a student kind of want to get into coaching, right? Like Zay was wanting to do. I'm sure Trenton probably on that same path as well. Being a Lawrence County graduate, I'm assuming he may want to go back to Louisa and give back down that way too. It's opportunities, right? Taking advantage of opportunities, and it's the same thing. I'll see a lot of our basketball guys, a lot of our athletes on campus. They take advantage of things in the community, on campus, outside of the sport they're playing, especially basketball. They're getting involved in community things, and so that's what about college. You talk about learning opportunities. But Coach, let's shift to alumni, and then next thing I want you to touch on community as we just talked about that one. So, Coach, as I'm sitting in this gorgeous locker room with you, and I'm looking around, and I'm seeing all these pictures of the alums. I see signatures on the wall. You probably do one of the better jobs I've seen of staying connected with the alumni. Talk about where you learned that from, and what's the value to you of the alums?
Yeah, again, when I started, I was very much like some of the guys that are working with me now. I didn't know anything, hadn't worked at this level, didn't really know anything. So everything I picked up was from Coach Wells, and he was always unbelievably generous to past generations of players, and a lot of the relationships that I have now are due to him bringing those guys around, or him making sure to introduce me to those guys when we were out and about and saw someone that had impacted our program somehow, some way. And we just want to try to give that, give it back. Being here for as long as I've been here, 16 years, and going to school with a lot of those guys as a student, and being part of the staff for a long time, there's nearly 2 decades of players that I've been directly related with, and that helps as well. But even some of the older generations that maybe I'm unaware of, or played during a time where there's just very little statistical information, or very little things to share or read or see that may bring attention to them being alums. We're always looking for those guys to come around. We want to mesh our new guys and make sure they understand the people that have come before them, and kind of dug the well, so to speak, and let our guys, come in and enjoy the benefits of what we have now. And we do what we call a Paul program, and we have guys like Coach Missoula and Coach Wells, and just people from different walks of life, or alumni, or maybe coaches from different levels. Donnie Jones has been phenomenal to our program as an alum. Speak to those guys on.
Donnie Jones, he's the head coach of
Yeah,
Stetson,
yeah,
right?
Stetson, yeah,
Yeah.
Stetson University, and he spoke to our guys a ton about leadership last year and gave a phenomenal speech to those guys before the season started, just about trying to get over the hump and get the job done, and thankfully we did. But we want to bring those people back, and not only let them share their experiences of their time here, but share their experiences of what their time here have created for them in the workforce or in their personal lives, whatever that may look like. So we're always looking for opportunities to do that, for us to meet new alums, for us to bring people back that maybe haven't been here in a while, to see some of the benefits of their hard work, and kind of the fruits of the labor, so to speak. So um, we encourage, reach out, like my email, my contact, my phone number, everything's on the website. If
It's not
if
hidden.
somehow I don't know you at this point, or we haven't been able to be in contact, and no matter if you played for a year here, if you played all 4 years here, or whatever that looked like, we would absolutely love to connect with you, and show off the program, and show why you should be proud of being part of what we've got going right now. And we want you to wear it proud on your chest when you're out and about, and we want to make all our alums proud with our success.
I've heard you say it several times. Once a bear, always a bear. It's always. So, Coach, let's jump to the community. It is something that I know you stay very active, and you and your wife both stay very active. Lisa, who is an alum of the University of Pikeville as well, you guys stay very active in the community, and not just the Pikeville community, but in Appalachia, and whether it be going to basketball camps, whether it be just going and serving in some form or fashion, just being present somewhere. Where did that come? Where did that passion come with you being involved in the community?
Again, that's something else that was prevalent from day one of me working here with Coach Wells. We were always going to get back to the youth. We were always going to make sure that we were in the elementary schools. We were always going to make sure we were providing platforms for positive experiences in our community. And for me, it's been no different. We're blessed to have, Coach Phipps as the AD is big on the community service piece. The football team is out and about doing a lot of things. Our entire athletic department is very, very active in community service. And, our community here locally gets a ton, and kind of the area that for better or worse, that we have focused on in our program, and just some of the behind the scenes things that Lisa and I have done, is we've tried to expand that out a little bit more into Central Appalachia, and we've tried to get out into the county, and we've tried to get in different areas. We've been back home and did a really, really, really impactful Christmas drive with some support of some folks back in my hometown of Grundy. We were able to bring a ton of joy to a lot of kids in Buchanan County, and we have gotten out and have gotten good support and great support, and done some different things in the Tri-Cities area, where we spend a lot of time with the conference tournament, and where several of our guys are from the Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia areas. So we haven't just focused on the city of Pikeville, so to speak, or necessarily just here our local community. We want to try to get out and branch out a little bit more into all of Central Appalachia, and part of our tagline here at the university is that we want to be the leading university of Central Appalachia, and we believe that so much of our support comes from all the surrounding areas as much as it does here. So while we are active here at home, and we want to be out and make sure that all the young basketball players at Pikeville Elementary School see Kean Warwick's in that Bears uniform, and can start dreaming that maybe that can be them one day. We want that to happen too, but we also want to make sure that we're not just so singularly focused on here, and we want to be able to get out and branch out and help people in need, wherever that looks like, and just find impact points, and bring as much joy and as much help as we possibly can to all the different areas in any way. It could be just reading to elementary school kids. It could be just helping at a 5K. It could be a Christmas drive. It could be anything and everything. But we want to make sure that we're getting out and having the most widespread impact that we can.
So, something, Coach, that I'm impressed with what you do as well is you you invite teams in. It don't matter what level, little league, junior high, high school. Come to
Yeah.
practice. Come to practice. Come check us out. Check these guys out. But also, when these teams come in, these youth teams, it's just not come in. Those guys leave. You have your players interact with these guys because, like you said, these youngsters coming in, they look at these college basketball players, and that's like, I mean, I want to be this dude. You know, I want to be Bradley Bunch, that type of thing. Talk about that, just reaching out. I mean, what started that, Coach?
Yeah, we wanna have fun impacts, right? So we talked about the Christmas drive. You know,
Yes.
when I was reaching out to try to find, youth in need and trying to get some Christmas ideas and some lists put together for some of the people, we talked very specifically about we didn't want it to be a thing where we were buying necessities. We wanted the kids to write down what is it that they want. What is a toy that they want? What is something they don't have? What is something just a splurge a little bit of just
Yes.
what we don't want to buy pajamas or socks or shoes. We want to get you what you want and let us know what that looks like. And we treat it the same way with the opportunity to interact with the kids in the gym at practice or at games. They're kind of meeting us where we are a little bit, so to speak. So while we're able to impact them, going to their elementary schools or their middle schools and reading to them and kind of interacting with them in the academic world, it's really important for us to be able to show them our world of athletics. And again, it's something that we know they have a great passion for, that excites them, that makes them happy, and we want to make sure that we're fueling that joy and fueling that experience for them. And again, letting them know that, like, hey, we're not always going to be in there talking about drugs or alcohol abuse,
Right.
or you need to do your homework or whatever that looks like. Those things are great, and there's a lot of room for those things, and we'll certainly be involved in that. But we also want those guys to have fun and just understanding, like, hey, you're in the gym, you're here, you're getting to watch college basketball practice. All of you, I'm sure, want to be
We're
a
playing hoops.
college athlete. We want you to really, really enjoy your time here, and we want you to meet us where we're at here in the gym, and just make it about basketball and that experience, and just give them some hope, and again, hopefully feed into something that is something that they're very passionate about and enjoy.
Well, Coach, you and your staff do a great job. And when those youngsters come in and you see them light up, and when they have the guys come when they fist bump or they say hello, it's just, my mama taught me to be a giver growing up, and definitely you and your program, you're definitely a giver. So Coach, I can talk to you all night long. I know this is just our first episode, so definitely appreciate your willingness to go inside the huddle, and I'm looking forward to episode 2 as well,
Yeah,
Coach.
no, can't wait. This is our last week, I guess next to last week before the regular season gets started. So as we move forward here, we'll have a lot of recaps. We'll have a lot of previews. We'll have a lot of player interaction. We're really looking forward to getting this thing off and running, up and running, and I think we're all going to be excited when the season starts, so we can get out of some of these dog days of the preseason that we're struggling with right now.
Well, you talked about that. Some of those guys, they're ready to see a different uniform.
Yeah, we're 20, 21 practices in, and I've been really going at it hard and been throwing a lot at them, and I think we're definitely at that point. Every team reaches it every year, but we're definitely at that point where we're sick and tired of going there and competing against each other every day. We need to see some new faces, some fresh faces.
Oh, definitely appreciate what you're doing, Coach, and folks at home. Until next time, this is Inside the Huddle with Coach Tigh, Compton, Gary, just signing off. And please remember, it's always a great day to be a U-Pike Bear.